Hey guys, welcome back. I'm excited to talk to you all about dysautonomia. Now, for those of you who don't know what dysautonomia is, I have a couple of key things to kind of help us with vocabulary so that we understand a little more on what's going on. So, dysautonomia, it is several conditions where the autonomic nervous system doesn't work properly. Your next keyword is the autonomic nervous system, which controls the thing that you don't think about, such as heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, breathing patterns, temperature control, sweating, pupil response, and even bladder function. Let's go ahead and dive in and learn a little bit more about dysautonomia. All right, welcome back, guys. So the autonomic nervous system, we're just gonna go ahead and start off with that one so that you guys have that understanding there. So basically with dysautonomia, the autonomic nervous system becomes glitchy. So signals that can be too strong or too weak or inconsistent in the body, which can cause the body to struggle with trying to regulate itself with some of the stuff we mentioned earlier, like heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, bladder function, and even pupil response. So it kind of messes with everything that you don't necessarily have to think about. The way that I like to try to think of it is, back in the day, I know some of you guys will understand this, but when you had like your Skull Candy headphones and you'd plug them in, and then the wiring would start to go out and you'd have to sit there and fiddle with it just to try to get it to play the music that you had playing. I like to think of it that way. With the nervous system, that for some reason the wiring in the body isn't functioning properly, and it causes these symptoms to show up and become more identifiable. Speaking of symptoms, they do vary for a lot of people. People experience a wide range and variety of symptoms. But that is also because dysautonomia has several conditions underneath it. So dysautonomia is like just the umbrella term. So it's the overall term for, rather than the specifics like POTS or Ehlers-Danlos or NCS. We will cover those ones later. So we will get to learn about more of the specific ones later on, but today we're just covering dysautonomia. Symptoms can include lightheadedness, fainting, rapid heart rate, especially if like moving from different positions from sitting to standing, heat intolerance. So people can get pretty sick if there's heat, too much heat. Their body can give them, more nausea or dizziness and fainting as well. Fatigue, just constantly being drained and tired. Brain fog, I don't know if any of you have experienced brain fog, but that is so heavy. Leave a comment down below on what brain fog is like for you so that the people who watch this can understand a little more on what that one's like. Digestive issues, so nausea, again, slowed digestion, so anything that the individual eats takes longer to digest than an average individual. Constipation, or even the opposite, diarrhea, which isn't great. Temperature dysregulation, being cold or hot all the time. Myself, I struggle with the cold. I am constantly freezing. As you can tell, I'm wearing my little sweater to keep warm. Shakiness or adrenaline rush-like symptoms. A lot of individuals struggle with the adrenaline dumps, and it'll wake them up at night. Their heart rate will be haywire. It's a very tough thing. Exercise intolerance. Exercising can actually exacerbate the symptoms and make them worse, so that you go into flare-ups or a longer period of time where you're extra sick. Shortness of breath, being unable to catch your breath. Vision changes when standing, like fuzzy, blurred, or darkened vision. Sometimes people pass out when standing up, so it really does depend on the individual. Um, some of the causes for this stuff, let's go ahead and talk about that. Now, there's something called primary, where the dysautonomia is the main symptom. Um, Sometimes there's no known reason on why they have it, and other times it's often genetic. Something that's been passed down through the family that just hasn't been realized. There's also another part of it, which is the secondary, which it usually is going hand in hand with either like autoimmune diseases or viral illness has triggered it to come on, or even Ehlers-Danlos, diabetes, long COVID, trauma, and even surgery can cause dysautonomia to show up. So there's kind of a long list there on secondary, so we will see. I know that for myself, I fit under the secondary category. I've got an autoimmune disease on top of the dysautonomia symptoms that I have, which we'll cover that again later on. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about how it's diagnosed. So it's kind of hard. It's not just a single like blood test or anything like that. It's patient history, symptoms, physical exams, autonomic tests, blood work. It's a long list of testing, and this stuff can take some time to figure out. For some of the testings that they could do, it could be like the poor man's tilt table test, where they have you lay down, they measure your heart rate, and then they have you sit up, they measure your heart rate, and then they have you stand up, and then they'll measure your heart rate again, typically looking for a 30 plus beat per minute rise in the heart rate. Or even they do the actual tilt table test, where you are put on a table and they tilt you up, and they've got you strapped in, and they measure how your heart rate reacts to being held up like that. Skin biopsies, blood tests, even, testing bladder function and all of that kind of stuff, nerve testing. There's a long list of testing that can be done to help determine this. The typical individuals that you would see for something like this would be a neurologist, cardiologist, rheumatologist, if there's, autoimmune conditions going on inside of that as well, or a autonomic specialist, which would be able to help you find more of those options that you might have going on. These guys often are the ones to diagnose, because they're able to see the autonomic dysregulation within the body, because, well, when you're seeing the heart, you're seeing the blood, you're seeing, the physical symptoms, appearance-wise, these guys are able to tell what's going on there. That is their specialties. Some resources that you guys might be able to look into. So there's the Dysautonomia Support Network. These guys are a really great site to go check out. They've got a lot of information on dysautonomia, people you can get in touch with. There's also the Dysautonomia International group. They're also another group that works with dysautonomias, of course. The Dysautonomia Project. These guys have all sorts of fantastic resources and options and readable material that you guys can go and check out. You can join a support group. Some of the places that I've mentioned just now have support groups that you can join, so that you've got that extra hand with figuring out, what do they do that helps them? What can you do to help yourself? There's a lot of options and variety there for you there. So check them out. I would highly recommend it. I'm not sponsored by any of these guys whatsoever, but they've been helpful with me for my own journey with what I've had going on. And I think that just about covers everything for dysautonomia. It's a little bit of a longer video today. Hope you guys were able to make it through all right. If you have, any questions, I'm not a medical professional. I cannot diagnose. I cannot help with anything like that. But the websites that I've also mentioned, they do have resources that you can look at for doctors in your area as well who might be able to help you figure that out. I wish you all the luck and hope that you guys are having an okay day. Take care. Bye.